sign it up. Yeah, Beth has the sign up sheets.
It's out there on the table.
I'd like to call council meeting to order. At this time, ask Councilman Terry Jenkins to have the pledge allegiance and invocation.
Please join me if you wish, and as you're able to. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this day and an opportunity to come before our citizens, but more especially before you, to try to do the things that you would have us do for our town and our citizens. We ask you to bless this time together, and as we're here, Father, it is to do your will, nothing more, nothing less, and nothing else. We ask you to bless those that serve us at home and abroad and keep them safe. We ask all this in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What we got next? The approval of minutes of the previous meetings.
Mr. Mayor, I would move approval of the minutes from the July 13th Town Council meeting and from the August 7th Standing Committee meetings.
Second.
Motion made. That we accept these meetings in the second. Any discussion? Here none, all in favor of this. Raise your right hand and. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carried.
First for public comment, Dickie Myler.
Mr. Martin.
Mr. Mayor, good evening, sir.
Yes, sir.
Pleasure to stand before you, distinguished council, distinguished guests. Mr. Mayor, today I'd like to talk just a few words about the ordinance to amend the town of Somerville's Midtown redevelopment plan in order to remove one parcel from it. And to put this in a proper context, Mr. Mayor, I love to go into the movies. One of my favorite movies is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And in this, a naive freshman senator, Jefferson Smith, submits a bill to the Senate to authorize the government to give him a loan to buy some land. He did not know that the senior senator of that state also had already made plans with big business to have a big dam project going on there. And so it was behind that business that he became a naive and blabbering fool, totally out of his element what he was doing. All the senators were convinced that Mr. Smith had no merit what he was saying, but he had one chance to sway the room, and he did that by filibuster. And for 25 hours, he stood and talked passionately about the ideals of freedom, what it means to change things that can be done. And it ended up in exhaustion and passed out on the floor. It just goes to show you, however, at the end of the movie, that one voice can change the whole narrative of what's going on in a community, in a family, in a nation. I want to say this, that tonight I'm asking you not to pass the second reading, to put that on hold for 5 main reasons. I believe, number one, that if you do, the county will not move forward to make that sale to a developer if it's still in the TIF district. Number two, I believe that a lot of more additional work, study, time, and collaboration and other input is necessary for you and all of us to fully understand all the ramifications of the possible consequences of doing this. 3, I believe that with a new mayor and new council people coming in, that this type of decision should be postponed to the new administration has a chance to look at it. I also believe that the possibilities of having more transparency and more stakeholders involved will make us find a win-win solution. Number 4, I believe that Somerville should not be run by the county. I think we have it reversed. Somerville is the crown jewel of this state. It's also the crown jewel of this county. And I believe if it weren't for 125 years ago, because of its location, that Somerville would be the county seat and not St. George. Somerville is financially, economically, educationally, socially, historically, the heartbeat of this county. I want you to realize that as custodians of all we do, that should be first and foremost what is best for Somerville. I believe the town should buy the property themselves from the county at a discounted rate. So we, the elected officials of Somerville, the town stakeholders, can decide ourselves what is best for that very important corner of this magnificent town. If we get it right, if we really get it right, we will have something all of us can be proud of and something we all can rejoice in, not just for today, but for generations to come. I know it's a very difficult decision, but I beg you, I ask you not to pass that reading. There's too much at stake for us, this town, this community, for this great town's future. Thank you.
Adrian Quest,
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Waring and council members. My name is Adrian Quist, and I have lived in Somerville 58 years. I want to echo what Mr. Myler just said. Again, I want to speak to you about the redevelopment of 500 North Main Street. Even though the county owns the property at 500 North Main Street, it can be argued that no individual really owns it, but it actually belongs to all of us taxpayers here in Dorchester County. With all due respect, Mayor Waring, you have done many good things during your leadership roles here in Somerville. However, at last month's meeting, during your comments, I was stunned when you mentioned about all the buildings in Somerville you have been worried about, and we, the public, are only concerned about one building. Yes, we are concerned about the former hospital where you and many others that live here were born. It is in the historical district, along with the Veterans Memorial, thanks to the Preservation Society. Many historical buildings have been demolished in the past, and here we are on the verge of demolishing another historical part of Somerville. I'm not against development, but putting 2, 3, 4, and 5-story buildings on 5.3 acres will ruin and destroy the character of this town, as well as adding to the horrific traffic problems this redevelopment will bring. I do remember from previous meetings that this town's council cannot do anything to stop the proposed redevelopment, and only the bar committee can. In a recent newspaper article, it stated that under pressure, the bar committee may approve the demolition of the hospital building. My question is this: under pressure from who? When I spoke to the county council 2 months ago, I told them twice, shame on them to even think about their development proposal and that Somerville is not for sale. You as mayor and members of this council should at least voice your opposition to sell the property to a developer who will not be concerned about our historic values, traffic gridlock, and most likely will not even live here. So where is all the love for Somerville that this council, the bar committee, and county council claim to have? Mr. McIntosh is absolutely correct when he recently mentioned a slap in the face of Somerville. I call it betrayal. Please keep in mind, we all are getting older. Good leadership is vitally important, and we all must continue to protect and preserve the historic values of this town for future generations. So let's be honest. With all the changes that are taking place in Somerville, this proposal development at 500 North Main Street is not what is best for this town. Unfortunately, it is really all about money, and that is very, very sad indeed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Quist.
Diane Frankenberger,
Hey there, you all. I'm wearing this button, and I want to be respectful of this button, and I am against unbridled growth, but I don't happen to feel that what is being proposed for 500 North Main constitutes that. Mr. Quist has me beaten by how many years he's lived here. I've lived here for 56 years on and off. We're a military family, and that was one of the reasons that we love moving to Somerville, because of how they felt about the military. In 1891, the Pine Forest Inn was built. It was 4 floors, had 150 rooms, 50 horse stables, and a dining room that was 1,600 square feet. If somebody wanted to build that now downtown, people might be upset by that. I try and see things that aren't there yet. I've been responsible for Mr. and Mrs. Cawthon's old hardware store and restoring that. Part of the group that renovated the downtown. That was almost 30 years ago. That was Kata McCoy and Rick Sutton. I was part of that. We redid the Public Works Arts Center. I got an award from the Preservation Society, and I have the utmost respect for Mr. Hudson and the amount of work that he's done in the town to make Somerville what it is today. I'm looking at St. Luke's. I'm looking at the town hall where it sits right now. I'm looking at the new parking garage. I'm looking at St. Paul's Church. I'm looking at the new CPW building. All of those places, there was a need. What you have plus what you need equals the item, but the reverse is also true. So all of those people, in order to serve more people that are coming here, I mean, and who are we going to tell you can't come here? Or when I want to think that the traffic's bad there, I'm sitting in my car all by myself. I don't even have a dog there anymore. So we're all part of the problem, and it's a great problem. And I just wonder how many people here today have read the plans for what's proposed. If they were to be honest, reading through this, reading all the input that they had, people haven't just done this in an irresponsible way. I said that I hadn't heard about it, but when I read when it was first started, it was in 2021. That was with the COVID, and I myself was very sick then. I feel like studies have been done. I don't feel like people are being irresponsible. And when people say it's all about the money, everything's about the money. How do you buy a car? How do you buy light bulbs? How do you buy food? How do you pay the light bill? Everything's about money, but how it's acquired and how it's spent is what is important. I think that it's important for the public to have a say. I think it's important for people to listen. And in the study, it has, this is what we need, this is what we would want. And so if people would go back and read the study and comment on what's there, I think that it would be a more fair picture of what has been proposed. Once again, I always take the back roads no matter where we go. And there are a lot of towns that would love to have this development. But there can be too much of too much of a good thing. But I know this isn't popular to say it, but I never worried about being popular. I think this development is good. And if we need to listen some more, then that should be done. Thank you very much for your time.
Diane, thank you very much for your comments.
Sailor Smith Glover Marchant.
Greetings, Mayor, Council members, attorney, our community. We're going to open up with a brief selection and we're going to say what we have to say. We've been grieving since we heard the news.
My name is Jimmy Glover. I've been here I'm 61 years old. That building been here ever since I've been here. But I don't want to see that happen, but that's what I got to do. There's a God who knows it all. There's a God who knows it all. He ruled the land with all power in his hand. There's a God who knows it all. Sometimes our burdens get heavy, Lord. Sometimes that more than I can bear. So I go down on my knees and I talk to Jesus, 'cause I know he will answer my prayer. There's a God who knows it all. Thank you, Lord. Appreciate you.
The council, I'm happy to be here tonight. I was born in Somerville in an old house on Bryant Street. It was two of us. My sister is sitting there with a striped shirt on. We were born here. But when I read this news that the hospital where Wells Fargo was, Dr. Olson had 10 rooms there, and Kitty Springs on the property there, on the corner, that helped many of us to get started in life. And now it's going to be torn down and put up a paper house, paper building, and a hurricane can come and blow it to pieces. I'm wondering, and the police department there that was built by Sinclair Willis, brick by brick, and another gentleman there on Parsons Road, Jennings, that built the parts of Barnes Temple Educational Center. They took bricks to build the police department right there on West 2nd North Street, a beautiful building. But when I look at the buildings that they're building now, they're a piece of plastic. If a hurricane come along, the building is gone. But these buildings will be here when the council members here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 council members. Those buildings are on the corner there, and the police department gonna be there when you're gone. What you gonna leave for the generations to come if you put a paper building, apartment building there? I don't have any idea what you're gonna put there. But if you put up a plastic building, My God, look at the plastic cars that we drive. When we were in an accident, we lose our relatives in those cars, right? And if we put up a plastic building, where are we going? Thank you for allowing Violet Saylor, born in Somerville, and I've seen it have grown, and I appreciate what you've done already, but don't destroy what you did now, please. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
I'm looking at the time, but it's 4 of us or 3 of us. But the council, county council in the town of Somerville has done so much work. But when we heard about this, the Native American, Miss Catherine Kitty Springs, the Native Americans believe that the lands belong to the public. That's their belief, whether we care about it or not, that it's not for private use. She was a Cherokee. And she donated that land for Somerville. They had the school there to take care of the sick, the people who didn't have anything. So whatever decision you're making, just consider. They say this land is your land, this land is my land, all that, but this is Somerville. The corner is the pyramids of Egypt. They're still standing. That corner will still stand, whether your great-grandchildren are here or not. She mentioned the Baum Temple with Jennings. We have the project, the highway project, Maple Street is against his building. And he was one of the brick masons that built this hospital. We have a revival going on. This might be the last revival, but I'm gonna share this with you on tomorrow because we're all at risk. If we can tear down that building, what about Cummins Seminary? What about this town hall? Everything, nothing is safe, nothing. So I'm going to share this with you. And thank you so much. My name is Linda Saylor Marchant, and I'm supporting just stopping the second reading, considering some of the people that were not on the focus group. I don't know how many Native Americans were on the focus groups. I don't know how many African Americans were on a part of the focus groups, but please consider what we're saying. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you so much.
Hayward Hudson,
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm Hayward Hudson and I reside at 215 Golf Road in Somerville. I make these remarks on behalf of the Somerville Preservation Society. I attended the June, July, and now August 23 meetings of town council. I have not heard until tonight with Diane Frankenberger anyone speak in favor of redevelopment of 500 North Main. And yet, removal of that block from the TIF will only facilitate county council's plans to do that. You have listened to your constituents present sound and compelling reasons why we should not sell and redevelop that site. That property does not belong to county council. It does not belong to town council. It belongs to us, the stakeholders and citizens of Somerville and Dorchester County. In the face of all the opposition by your constituents, you have, with little discussion in public view, voted to remove 500 North Main from the TIF and facilitate what citizens are opposed to. This is not representative democracy in action. We have asked you to explain your positions on this issue, and you have had ample opportunities to do so. Instead, you have engaged in horse trading behind closed doors. You are allowing this council to be manipulated by county council. You are reminded that you represent most of the same people that they represent. You should be listening to us. You are not, and they are not. You all should be ashamed of what you are doing. Between the county, the town, and Dorchester District 2, you have gotten us in a world of debt at a time of economic uncertainty or recession. Have you read today's paper? Moody's is predicting a recession in early 2024. You need to read the paper. You need to understand what the implications of what you are doing. Unbridled growth is destroying Somerville. It is unbearable. We need to stop it now. I want to comment on Diane Frankenberger's comments, because she apparently has seen a different plan from the one Hayward Hudson has seen. The plan that I have seen is just awful. And she mentioned the old post office. I was born on that site before they built the old post office. It was built in 1937, in the same year that the old hospital was built by the Public Works Administration. They are in the process of repurposing that building and making it a cultural center. Why can't we do the same thing with the old hospital? They've done it with the old high school. Why can't we do it as well? And I concur 100% with Mr. Myler's suggestion that the town purchase the old hospital. You can do it if you're horse trading and you're trading the money that you would have to use for the Maple Street extension. If you didn't have to contribute to that, and the county should be the ones to pay for it, because they're the ones that control the penny sales tax. They should pay for it. They are supposed to represent us just as much as you. So you tell them to pay for it and take whatever you save from the bond issue and purchase the old hospital and give them the 4 or 5 million that they want for it. But that's what you should be doing. And you don't need to build another police station. Why don't you put the police station over there?
Thank you, Hayward.
Wait a minute.
No,
I want to
no,
give
you're
you.
done.
Yeah, I'm done.
And I have let you. Yeah, I've let you go over,
No,
and I appreciate it.
I don't want to say anything else.
Okay,
I
thank
do
you.
have two things that I commend to each of you.
Yeah,
And that is the op-ed piece that was in the Post-Courier, which was written by Mr. Stockton, who I found out is the
you can bring it up here and pass it up. Thank you, sir.
I have an analysis that was done of the TIF agreement. And I dare say very few people in here have read the TIF, 700 pages. And I'm gonna give you this analysis that was done by Peter Gorman, and it will inform you in a way that you haven't been informed.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for public comment for items on the agenda. Next, I have petition by Rolina Investments LLC to annex TMS numbers 145-0301-005-006 and 009, located at 207 and 209 Garbin Drive, and totaling approximately 3.2 acres. Currently zoned R1, MA, R1, and TRM respectively in Dorchester County, and will be zoned GR5, general residential upon annexation into the town of Somerville's municipal limits. This would be in Council District 3. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on July 17th. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for approval at their meeting on August 7th.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor. Okay, on petitions. Mayor, motion made, second. Any questions?
I need to recuse myself because I have interest in adjoining property.
Okay, any problems with Bob recusing himself on that? Okay. Yeah, no questions. All in favor of this, signify by raising your right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Second. All in favor of this, signify by raising right hand, voting aye. Okay. Opposed likewise, ayes carry.
For pending bills and resolutions, second and final reading of an ordinance to release the existing lease and approve the new lease of 100 West Richardson Avenue, Suite C.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we give second and final reading of the ordinance.
I'll second.
Any questions on this? If not, all in favor signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed likewise.
Second and final reading of an ordinance to amend the Town of Somerville Midtown redevelopment plan in order to remove one parcel from the redevelopment project area and making a specific finding of benefit to the redevelopment project area of a town public safety and general administrative facility. Provide for notice to overlapping taxing jurisdictions in connection with the foregoing. Provide for publication of notice of adoption hereof and other matters related thereto.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we postpone reading of this item 6B until the September 14th council meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any questions? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carried.
Second and final reading of an ordinance to annex TMS number 13010000018, located at 518 North Maple Street and totaling approximately 0.58 acres, currently zoned OI Office and Institutional District in Dorchester County, and will be zoned NMX Neighborhood Mixed Use upon annexation into the town of Somerville's municipal limits.
I make a motion that we give second reading to this, Mr. Mayor. Okay.
Second.
Motion made second. Any questions? Okay, if not, all in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Ayes carried.
Under introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading of an ordinance to amend the business license ordinance of the town of Somerville to update the class schedule as required by Act 176 of 2020.
I'll make a motion that we upgrade that tax.
Second. Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed likewise. Ayes carry. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Okay,
First reading of an ordinance correcting the business license ordinance of the town of Somerville, Chapter 8, Article 2, Appendix A, Class 8, rates 8.1, so that for each additional $1,000, there will be a charge of $1.90 versus the incorrect amount of $1.75.
Make a motion, we give first reading.
Second.
okay. Any questions on that?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question. How do we know that $1.175 was incorrect.
Gosh, I believe that we adopted the rate from the state. And I think when we redid the ordinance last year, that was a typo, was the way I understood it.
Earlier, like two paragraphs up, and the split was there for $1.75.
So is there an ambiguity in our ordinance now, or does it say 175?
It-
190. Originally, it's 190, and then it says 175, which is incorrect. It should have said 190. Be consistent with 190 previously.
I guess my question, I'll try one more time. What was ultimately passed by council? Does it say 175 or does it say 190 in some places and 175 in others?
Says
Yeah.
190.
Okay.
That's correct.
And these rates came from,
Municipal association,
okay, their model ordinance.
yes.
All right with that, Bill? Okay, all in favor of this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, ayes carried.
First reading of an ordinance to grant to Dominion Energy an easement for the construction and maintenance of overhead and underground electric lines and related equipment at the intersection of South Maple Street and Richardson Avenue, which is owned by the town.
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
Second.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor of this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Ayes carried.
First reading of an ordinance to grant to Dominion Energy an easement for the construction and maintenance of overhead and underground electric lines and related equipment at the intersection of West Fifth North Street and North Maple Street, which is owned by the town of Somerville.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we give first reading to this.
Second.
B.
Okay, motion made, second. Any questions? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes carried. Okay,
First reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS number 13010000033 located at 823 West Fifth North Street, totaling approximately 1.69 acres and owned by Dorchester County from UCMX Urban Corridor Mixed Use to PL Public Lands. This is in Council District 1. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on July 17th. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for approval at their meeting on August 7th.
skip the page.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move first reading of the ordinance.
Second.
Motion made, second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carried.
First reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS number 13010000051 located at 603 North Maple Street, totaling approximately 0.77 acres and owned by Lawrence and Melissa Lopez Gibson from NR Neighborhood Residential to NB Neighborhood Business. This is in Council District 1. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on July 17th. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for approval at their meeting on August 7th.
Motion to give first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Ayes carried.
First reading of an ordinance to amend the Somerville Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 10, Signs, Section 10.5, Changeable Copy Signs. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and sent the item to council with no recommendation at their meeting on July 17th. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for denial at their meeting on August 7th.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we deny first reading and reject the ordinance.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would just state that I was listening to the committee meeting, to the Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting via Zoom, and this issue came up, and it struck me as really odd. And that was that ordinance amendments come from us as council members. We have by tradition allowed staff to recommend ordinance amendments, but the ultimate decision as to whether something even appears on one of our agendas rests with you, Mr. Mayor. And I was, first time in 12 years, I heard that somehow an ordinance amendment got on our agenda without a single council member knowing about it and without it even being a staff suggestion. So I oppose it on its merits, but even if I supported the idea, I would have made the same motion. If someone, some interest group or some member of the public wants to amend the ordinance, one of us, in fact, it has to be two of us. Our new ordinance amendment says either the mayor puts it on the agenda or any two council members. So if just one of us wanted this, we couldn't get it on the agenda. So I'd really think that somebody dropped the ball procedurally, but I also oppose the ordinance on its merits.
All right, anybody got any problems with that? Okay, all right. All in favor of this, signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Okay,
First reading of an ordinance to amend the Somerville Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 7, Parking and Driveways, Section 7.3, Vehicle Parking Location. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on July 17th. Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for approval at their meeting on August 7th.
Make a motion to give first reading.
Second.
okay, motion on the floor to in a second. Any discussion?
Can we get an explanation of this ordinance?
The parking, vehicle parking location is stated in both chapter 2 and chapter 7. And chapter 2, under the neighborhood mixed use, parking is allowed on both the side and rear of the lot. In chapter 7, it was incidentally only allowed on the rear of the lot. So this is correcting that to allow it on the side and rear in chapter 7, as it already states in chapter 2.
Another Scrivener's error.
Everybody all right with that? Okay. All in favor of this, signify by raising right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
First reading of an ordinance to amend the Somerville Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 10, Signs, Section 10.2.1, Applicability. Section 10.4.3, Building Signs Requiring a Permit. Section 10.5, Changeable Copy Signs. Section 10.8.1, Incidental Signs, and Section 10.9, Prohibited Signs. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for denial at their meeting on July 17th. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for approval at their meeting on August 7th.
I'll make a motion to approve first reading.
Second. Motion made second. Any questions? All right, all in favor, signify by
Aye.
aye. Opposed likewise. Motion carried.
First reading of an ordinance to amend the Somerville Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 13, Administration and Procedures, Section 13.3.3, Board of Zoning Appeals, and Section 13.4.2, Public Notice Requirements. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on July 17th. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for approval at their meeting on August 7th.
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
And motion second on this, any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I do intend to vote against first reading. If I understand this ordinance correctly, the result of its adoption would mean that citizens got less and not more public notice. And at this time, I think all elected bodies, but particularly Dorchester County Council and unfortunately Somerville Town Council is hearing a lot about a lack of transparency and a lack of public notice. And I think this amendment goes in 180 degrees in the wrong direction.
Mr. Mayor, since I was on the committee, I just have a comment. The way Jesse presented this, there are a lot of properties, I believe it was a 500-foot radius was what the old ordinance states. Now it talks about adjacent properties. Certain entities were being flooded by these notices, which may have prevented them from paying attention to them. Now, these notices with the revision are there in place so that your adjacent property owners will be given notice. So I agree with the revision so that folks know that an adjacent property is being put on an agenda for the future. So that's why.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that I did ask the question and Jesse noted that she sends out 150 to 200 mailings on some of these issues and has gotten very few responses, just a couple over the history of it. So I agree, and we've got citizens complaining about getting hit with them all the time if you live in the historic district.
If I'm within 500 feet of a piece of property, but not adjacent to it, it still affects my quality of life, and I'd like to at least know about it.
Mayor, may I speak just real quick to that?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I did want to mention, there is still a sign posted, which is what we get most of our feedback on, are the signs posted on the property, not the letters issued.
Motion on the floor in second. Anybody got anything else to say about it? Okay, all in favor of this motion? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill.
First reading of an ordinance to amend the Somerville Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 15, Section 15.3, definition of terms. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on July 17th. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for approval at their meeting on August 7th.
I'll make a motion that we approve the changes.
Second.
Motion on the floor that we approve this. In a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Likewise, motion carried.
Under miscellaneous, authorization for town administrator to enter into an agreement with Dorchester School District 2 for school resource officers.
I'll make a motion, we approve that.
Second.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor. Okay. Motion made and second on the
Third.
position town administrator and this agreement with Dorchester School District 2 for the school resource officer. And second, all in favor of this signify by raising your right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise.
Authorization for town administrator to enter into an agreement with Dorchester School District 2 for a weapons detection canine and officer.
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, signify by raising your right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carried.
Authorization for town administrator to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Charleston County Sheriff's Office.
Make a motion, we give authorization to the town administrator.
Second.
Motion made second, any Discussion on this? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, ayes carried.
Authorization for town administrator to sign a memorandum of agreement with the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice.
Make a motion, we give authorization to the town administrator on this.
Second,
Mr. Mayor, can we get an explanation of the memorandum of agreement?
This is an annual agreement that we enter into with the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice, and it's my understanding that if our police department takes a juvenile in custody and they have to be transported there and they stay there, that we're responsible for paying for that,
That they are responsible for paying.
that we are.
We've been doing this for a long time, Bill.
Yeah, we pay a certain dollar amount per day.
and,
Is that your understanding, Chief? Okay,
and what happens if we don't?
then they won't let us bring the child there. Same agreement we've had in place for years.
I understand it's a agreement we've had for years, but apparently we get to authorize them annually.
We don't have any choice.
I will say that I'm not sure that this previously came before this council on an annual basis. It was
I've
approved in-
never seen it. before.
Okay, well, we're trying to make sure all of these MOUs come before you for approval.
You have approved this.
Mm-mm.
Yes.
I've never, in 12 years, I've never voted on an agreement with the Department of Juvenile Justice. I feel very confident about
Maybe you just didn't know it.
it. I bet I did.
This has been approved ever since I was public safety director.
It might have been done in a back room, but it hadn't been done in this room.
I mean, we've done this since I was public safety director.
I don't doubt that. It doesn't make it.
I
I
mean,
I mean, if somebody's telling me, if what you're saying, Madam Administrator, is that if we don't enter into an agreement with the Department of Juvenile Justice, then we have no ability to take detained juveniles into custody. We just have to release them to their parents.
It's my understanding. They will not accept them from our police department.
Would they accept them from anybody else?
I
we
assume
stand
every
back
other
on her-
jurisdiction has an
Chief,
agreement
Chief,
with.
come on, yeah, let's let Chief stand up and explain this come up here and explain this to us.
You don't have to come up here.
You can tell us what we do if we don't do this.
So yes, when this came about, I told the administrator that this has been perpetually done without council knowing about it. And I said, you all said you wanted to know about MOUs, so that's why we're bringing it before you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yes,
Chief.
sir. We've always done this. This is the first time it's come up that I've been involved with it. So I told them it needed to go before council. But we do pay them a dollar amount. It would seem logical that the state of South Carolina would use state funding from taxpayers to pay for juveniles to be housed there, but that's not the case. We have to pay for them to stay. And we have a better deal down the road at Charleston County Sheriff's Office that I worked out last year that you all signed off on. They're a little more expensive, but I don't have to drive 100 miles and 100 miles back 2 times. So that's 400 plus miles, but yes, sir.
And I'm familiar with that facility on Leeds Avenue. I think it's an excellent facility.
They stay pretty full. We have a lot of discretion when it comes to juveniles, but the crimes that these juveniles are committing now are so much more violent than we've ever seen. We're having to house more than we've ever done before. In fact, I signed off yesterday for almost $3,000 we have to pay the state for juvenile justice just for housing last month alone.
And this might make me feel a little bit better if your answer is what I hope it is. This is just for juveniles that are detained prior to their hearing.
Yes, sir. For
Okay.
24 hours and then they come back. That's correct.
Well, they come back and then depending on what happens in front of the family court judge.
Then they
may
go back and then we don't pay for them anymore.
All right, that's all I needed.
Yes,
to
sir.
know.
It's, yes, sir.
That's all I needed to know. And first time I've heard about it in 12 years. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Doug.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
Hmm.
We have a motion and a second on the floor.
Motion and on the floor and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like. Motion carried.
For public comment, I have Andrew Price.
Public comments. No, no.
He's up.
Sorry, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable mayor, esteemed members of the town council, and fellow residents. I stand before you today with great pride and excitement as the executive director of the Somerville Orchestra. It is my privilege to address you on this momentous occasion as we celebrate our 20th season. Our orchestra has been an integral part of this community's cultural fabric, and I would like to take this opportunity to highlight the significance of our journey so far and the impact we have made on Somerville. Over the past 2 decades, the Somerville Orchestra has evolved into a thriving organization, enriching the lives of countless individuals through the power of music. Our orchestra's purpose has always been to promote artistic excellence, foster a love for classical music, and provide an avenue for professional and amateur musicians to showcase their skills. We have strived to create an inclusive and accessible environment, welcoming people of all ages and backgrounds to experience the magic of orchestral performances. Throughout the years, our orchestra has brought joy, inspiration, and a sense of unity to our town. We have organized numerous concerts, each one a testimony to the dedication and passion of our musicians. Our performances have moved audience, evoking emotions that transcend language and cultural barriers. We firmly believe that music has the power to heal, uplift, and create a positive impact on the well-being of our community. In addition to our regular concerts, we have been committed to educational outreach programs. These initiatives aim to introduce young minds to the world of music and nurture the next generation of musicians. Through workshops, masterclasses, and collaborations with local schools, we've inspired countless young talents, planting the seeds of creativity and expression. Our orchestra looks forward to the future, but remembers our past as well. What started in 2003 as 15 volunteer musicians has now turned into over 75 volunteer musicians who rehearse every Monday and perform 6 times a year. With our main series, our smaller outreach programs, such as our Encore series at Coastal Coffee Roasters, our music chats at Dorchester County Library, and our art strolls at Public Works Art Center, we provided over 30 events to more than 16,000 individuals to the community while creating jobs and boosting the economy for both the arts and our community. As we commemorate our 20th season, we are not only celebrating the achievements of our orchestra, but also expressing our profound gratitude to the community that has supported us unwaveringly. Our success would not have been possible without the generous contributions of individuals, businesses, and the town itself. Your continued support has allowed us to flourish and grow, enabling us to make a difference in the lives of so many. Looking forward, we are eager to build upon our accomplishments and take the Somerville Orchestra to even greater heights. We envision expanding our educational initiatives, collaborating with other local cultural organizations, and presenting more diverse and innovative programs that resonate with the evolving taste of our audience. In conclusion, I would like to extend a heartfelt invitation to each one of you to join us in celebrating our 20th season. Your presence at our concerts would be a testament to the unity and community spirit that makes Somerville such a special place to call home. Together, let us continue to foster a vibrant art scene that enriches our lives and creates a lasting legacy for generations to come. I have some wonderfully branded packets here that have fun informational pieces, which highlights the scope of what we do. Our brochure has all of our concerts with dates. There's a small but mighty infographic that displays our programs and gets into the non-musical side of our organization, which includes touch points that we do, staff we have, board, etc. A sample program from our November 2022 concert that shows how much our community supports us, a copy of this speech, and a beautifully curated poster to hang where you may wish. Finally, there are 2 extra pages about our youth orchestra programs that started last year, and an economic impact survey and recording according to American for the Arts organization
a nationally recognized service. Thank you for your time and attention. May the harmony of music and community always resonate in the heart of Somerville. I yield the remainder of my time for any questions, and I'm happy to stay afterwards.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Very much.
And Dickie Myler?
Mr. Mayor, I'm here to sing for you. I've been taking lessons.
Sing it out, Dick.
Uh,
Sing it out. Sing it out.
Those are a lot.
I never heard you sing before, but I mean.
I have.
Can do it.
If you won't tonight, Mr. Mayor, just what I was moved to say this tonight, just seeing Chief Doug Wright walk up here. What he's doing with this town and the Dignity Project and everything else, that man is a man of God and who is doing a marvelous job for the town of Somerville. I just want to say thank you, Chief, for everything you do. Amazing police officer.
I agree. I agree.
Keep working.
Thank you, Dickie. I agree.
No, it doesn't borderline at all.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for public comment.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we go in executive session to discuss personnel and contractual matters related to a personnel matter related to vacancy on the municipal electing commission, personnel matter related to town prosecutor position, discuss contractual matters and receive legal advice related to municipal public safety facilities. Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Go into executive session.